Hi. What about a film festival for films shot exclusively on smartphones? Sounds great, doesn't it? Well, when I came up with this idea about 4 years ago, I got so excited. I just wanted to tell all my friends. But for some reason, they just all looked at me, smiled politely, saying, well, making a film on a smartphone and screen it in the cinema, that must look crap for sure. Don't you rather want to find a proper job? A proper job. Great. Well, you know, it was at a time where my self-confidence was low because after having studied here at your amazing university, having had a well-paid job, the usual, you know, I decided to become a mom, a full-time mom. And staying at home after a while, it made me feel isolated. And it had an effect on my self-confidence. So I decided to check job adverts again, until I met Simon Horrocks on Twitter. He's now the co-founder of our festival. And he said something life-changing to me. Now, listen. Don't take decisions based on the fears of others. Don't take decisions based on the fears of others. And this somehow gave me the courage to just dive into this adventure of setting up a film festival from scratch, with no money, no experience, and not much of a plan. But why would that matter to you? This is me. Are you laughing? Don't laugh. Well, I grew up in a little village of about 500 inhabitants, and you know, because there were such few kids, I ended up being the only girl in my class, up until secondary school. And in the beginning, you know, as a 4-year-old, I didn't think that it would have an effect on me. But after a while, I realized it actually did have an effect. For example, I love doing sports, but a lot of times the boys, they just didn't want me in their sports team. So I had to wait at the sidelines and watch them play. And these kind of experiences later, they always made me want to help other people, to lift them up, to make things equal for everyone. And I think that's what I'm trying to do now with my film festival. Imagine how many creative people live on this planet, and how many people there are, how many stories there are worth to be told. But unfortunately, not everybody has the means to just make films or buy a film camera. Film camera. Please raise your hands if you have got a smartphone. Thousands of hands, everybody. Well, you know, it is a fact that nowadays there are more smartphones in this world than there are people. More smartphones than people. And smartphones, they come with really great cameras. And I mean really great. Maybe some of you have seen Searching for Sugar Man. Anybody? Not too many. Okay. Well, it won an Oscar for Best Documentary in 2013. And what many people don't know is that a few scenes, they were shot on smartphones, the last few scenes, simply because they ran out of money. This film wouldn't exist if they didn't have smartphones to shoot these last few scenes. Then there is Tangerine. It's one of the first feature films shot entirely on smartphones. And Chris Bergoch is the co-writer, co-producer of the festival, of the film, and he said something really funny. Well, it's not surprising. He said, whenever we told anybody that we wanted to make this film on smartphones, they were just rolling their eyes saying, well, I wouldn't say that because that's not the real movie. Nobody's going to take you seriously if you shoot this thing on a phone. Well, they still did it, and it created a huge buzz at the Sundance Film Festival, and it's a huge hit nowadays. Smartphones, they can open up an entirely new world to filmmakers out there, because it means that nowadays anybody, anywhere in the world, is able to make films just by using their smartphones. Refugees, for example, they can take their camera, they can take us with them on their journey and opening our eyes in a way never seen before. I mean, even people like Steven Soderbergh, I'm sure you know him, he has made films like Ocean's 11 or Traffic. He decided to make his last film on a phone as a feature film, and he said something really beautiful. He said, making a film on a smartphone is like being a painter and having an idea and just walk to the wall and start painting. Because smartphones, they allow you to take away the focus from all the crew, the gears, the money, anything, and they let you focus on the heart and the soul of telling a story. But of course, there is a but. Because the film industry is still ruled by money. And people with money decide which stories are being told and which are being silenced. And so I asked myself this question. Do we want to live in a world where only people with money decide which stories are being told? No. And that's why we need a film festival that levels the playing field, that can give everybody a voice, that levels the playing field around the world. But you know, how do you set up a film festival from scratch, with nothing? We decided to use crowdfunding. Maybe you've heard of crowdfunding. It's not just a great way to finance your project. It's also a really great way to create a buzz and to create a community around the project. And what we experienced during our campaign, it just blew me away, because we smashed our goals within just a few days. It was so moving. Right after that, we started our first call for film entries. And I still remember one of my favorite films. It was called Horseface. And it's a, let me check, comedy, horror, science fiction, thriller, animal drama. Don't tell anybody. And you know, it was made for $30 by the director himself and by his grandmother. And it's really, she was the main actress. It's such a great film. I recently checked it up again, and it has won 61 awards in the meantime. Isn't that amazing? The festival afterwards, it was sold out, mainly by our crowdfunding backers. And you know, seeing them all come together in this beautiful art house cinema, watching our carefully selected films, eating our homemade popcorn, we made it ourselves, seriously. It's just a moment, it still gives me shivers. Mobile Motion Film Festival was one of the first 4 smartphone film festivals in the world, and it's the only one in Switzerland. And you know what? We are regularly ranking amongst the top 3 of most influential events on social media in Switzerland, right after the World Economic Forum and Art Basel. Working on this project has been an amazing ride of struggles, of passions, sometimes of forever waiting, sometimes of pure joy. And I had to learn what it means to put all of you into a project, and that it can be mentally exhausting. And for me, it was really important I could separate myself as a person from the project. And, you know, the uncertainty of the future of the project, mainly because funding is still one of the most difficult parts, it sometimes gives me sleepless nights. And just recently, I just wanted to give it all up, to throw it away and check job adverts again. But right then, something really magical happened. A young Egyptian filmmaker submitted her film, and it was about a little girl fighting to be able to be part in an all-boys football game, instead of waiting at the sidelines. And her story reminded me of my own story and of what Simon told me. Don't take decisions based on the fears of others. Momo can give everybody a voice. And it is time to level the playing field around the world so that the filmmakers at the sidelines can bring their stories to all of us. Thank you.